Claude Code just killed video editors. You've probably been hearing this on TikTok or Instagram or wherever. And so today in this video, we're going to be using Claude Code to take a raw video file that we have recorded and edit it completely down into a ready to post clip for Instagram Reels, YouTube Shorts, or TikTok videos. The reason this matters is because if you're spending 15 to 20 hours a week editing your videos, that's 15 to 20 hours that you're not spending making new content. And the more content you make, the greater reach you will get and the faster you will grow. And the idea behind the system is we're just going to have a folder where you can dump all of your raw video files in. Every single morning, we'll just have a routine that runs. It'll look through that folder for any new additions. And it's going to edit all of the videos in there and then just save them to a new output folder. And if we haven't met yet, my name is Duncan Rogoff. I'm a former art director for brands like Apple, PlayStation, and Nissan, and I now run a six-figure AI agency. In under 12 months, I've grown a following of over 110,000 people, and I lead a community called The Build Room, where more than 2,000 are already using AI to grow their audience and generate leads for their business in under 3 hours per week. The way that this system is going to work, we're going to be using a free service called Whisper to transcribe the videos. It's going to remove any of the bad takes or mess ups or whatever. It's going to trim out all of the silences so it's super, super tight, which is of course what works well on Instagram or any short form platform. We're going to add a text hook up top, which is basically supports the verbal hook, which we know works really, really well. And then we're going to burn in our captions so that we don't ever need to actually generate native captions in the platform, which is going to save us so much time. If you want to get access to anything that we build today, already done for you, I'll leave a link in the description. So today I'm going to be building everything inside of the terminal because I found it to be easier and faster than using the desktop app. At the end, we will switch over to the desktop app to schedule our routine so that we can just run this every single day. So the first thing that you're going to do if you've never used Claude in the terminal before is you just need to come over here, go into your Spotlight, type in terminal, and you can open this up and you're all good to go. If you've never installed Claude Code before, here's a quick start guide from Claude itself. Literally all you need to do is copy and paste this into your terminal. It's gonna ask you a few setup questions and you should be good to go. So I'm just going to type in Claude to get started. Now, what I've done is I just have this folder on my desktop. It's the Claude Code video editor folder, and I'm just gonna drag this in here so Claude Code knows like where we want to build everything. Inside of this folder, I just created two subfolders. One is raw for all my raw video files, and two is the outputs folder for any of the final outputs. And then inside of Claude, I can just hit Shift and Tab on the keyboard, and you can see here we've now switched to planning mode. This means that Claude is actually going to create a game plan for us to review as a human before it actually builds anything. So now what we can do is we can just talk to the system to tell it exactly what we want to build. I need you to create a video editing pipeline. I'm going to drop a raw unedited video file into the raw folder. You need to use Whisper to transcribe that. I need you to look for any repetition, bloopers, or errors. I need you to use FFmpeg to cut out any of the mistakes. And I also need you to use it to trim any gaps or silences. Later on, we're going to add a text overlay for like a hook, and then we're going to caption the video file, which I will give you more instructions on later on. Once everything has been edited, I need you to drop the final edited video into the outputs folder with a proper name and date. So now I'm just going to send this off to Claude Code and it's going to create an entire game plan for me. Cool, so the system basically just came back and it asked me one question about what I meant by Whisper. The app that I'm using to talk into the system right now is currently called Whisperflow. People ask me about this all the time. That's not what I want to use. I want to use this faster Whisper thing already installed. It's totally free. You don't need any like API keys or anything like that. So just tell it to use the free version of Whisper and I'm just going to hit OK and now it should go ahead and create the rest of the plan. So this took a couple minutes and it came back with an entire game plan for us. So I'm going to drop a raw video file into the raw folder. The pipeline automatically transcribes, analyzes for mistakes, cuts bad segments, trims silences, adds a hook overlay, and exports a clean video to outputs. It's a fully local pipeline using faster Whisper, FFmpeg, and the Claude API. It's going to create all of the steps of the pipeline, any of the configuration details, and anything else it needs to actually build this for us. So I'm just gonna go ahead and click yes, auto accept edits, and then we're just gonna go ahead and start to build out this pipeline. Now, while we were doing this, there are two other pieces of this pipeline that I mentioned. One is the hook overlay, the text in the beginning, which is going to get people's attention, and two are the captions. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you some of the principles and psychology behind creating these text overlays that I've already established that we're going to bring into this system. Why Claude Code becomes so powerful is over time, you start to have all of these little pieces that you build up that you can start integrating together in new ways. So I'm just going to open up a new Claude window over here, and I know that I have this ideation skill to help me create new ideas for new video content. Inside of this skill, I have a lot of information on creating effective intro hooks, especially when it comes to the text overlays in the beginning. Can you just describe basically what makes an effective text overlay? So check this out. Here's what makes an effective text overlay. If you're just creating videos manually, you can use this stuff too. So the core rule is say something different. The text overlay, which appears on screen, and the spoken hook, which is what I'm saying, they run simultaneously, but they shouldn't be the same thing. They must each stand alone and say something different. The goal is intrigue, not description. The best overlays make the viewer ask a question, they don't answer one. So here are 3 patterns that work. The paradox pattern, something that sounds wrong or contradictory. She was right, or I fired all 3, or it cost me everything. The social proof gap. This implies others knew something before you did. 78,000 people knew this before me. Or the confession, which admits something that creates tension. I almost didn't post this. And so now that we understand this, we can just go ahead and start to bake this into our existing pipeline. And I'm just going to go ahead and come back in here. It's probably behind my head. So let me just scoot this up and scoot this over a little bit. So I'm just going to do the same thing and type in ideation. And I'm just going to say inside of this skill, I have some descriptions about what makes an effective text overlay for the intro hook. So I want you to bake this into our system. So we should basically be creating text overlays once we have edited the video, that they will appear in the first 6 seconds or so. They should be kind of like a big bold font that occupies like the top third of the frame. And it is asking me for my Anthropic API key or my Claude API key. I know my system already has access to it. So I'm just going to say, you already have access to my Anthropic API key. So just make sure you use that. If you've never gotten your Anthropic API before, just come over to platform.claude.com. You come down here into this little manage section, go into API keys, click create new API key, name this whatever you want, and then click add and a new API key will pop up for you. So remember how I said everything is about pulling all of the pieces of the puzzle together? The next thing we need to do is captions. Let me talk to you about captions. There's this creator that I love on Instagram, Minho Lee. He's got 530,000 followers, so you know who's doing something right. And he just released this video the other day. This one editing hack got me 1.8 million followers. Also, notice the text hook on screen. So I'm just going to play this video for you so you can learn about this editing hack when it comes to captioning your videos. And then we're going to apply this thinking to our own captions.
Pro editing tip inside TikTok. You're gonna press these 4 buttons and it's gonna instantly 2x your views. I promise you, okay? I've grown all of these accounts because of this. This one specific tech, okay? First up, we're gonna do the auto captions. Step 2, we're gonna hit style, custom. Step 3, make it smaller. It's gonna feel a little bit more nonchalant and authentic. People love the authentic style of editing. Next, we hit this button with the A, go to basic. I like this one because it feels more nonchalant, but it still has that tiny, like the black shadow around it, so it's a little bit more contrast from the background because legible text makes it easier for your viewer to watch, higher retention, okay? And then we're just gonna cut it, especially in the first 10 seconds because we want things to move fast in the first 10 seconds. Here is my complete guide to getting your first 10,000 followers on your personal brand on TikTok, 2 words at a time. Things move fast. There's not a lot of clutter on the screen because if there's too much clutter on the screen, people are not gonna watch it. And last step, we're just gonna make this a little bigger, and here we go. This is the finished product. Here's my complete guide to getting your first 10,000 followers on your personal brand on TikTok or Instagram. Isn't that clean? That's clean right there. People probably think, oh, he's a little nonchalant creator. In reality, I fucking A/B tested the shit out of this. Like for more.
Okay, anyway, I think that tip is freaking awesome and it's really interesting and I want to try it out. The other thing that I just want to note is that piece that he says at the end where he's like, you think I'm this nonchalant creator, but I A/B tested it. So the people who are growing the biggest channels and are doing the best work are the ones who are A/B testing. They're the ones who are doing their research. They're the ones who are studying other creators and what's working. So that research step that comes in the beginning before everything else is the biggest piece that I think a lot of people skip and then they wonder why their content isn't working. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go ahead and copy this URL. I'm going to come over here to just like this free website for getting an Instagram transcript. I'm just going to download the Instagram transcript and I'm going to give it to Claude and say, hey, I'm trying to recreate this. So I just copied this transcript over here and we can just come back into our terminal to see where we're at. It's basically said that the hook overlay is all good to go and our API key is now loaded from our internal local files. The last piece of this is the captioning. And I just got this video transcript from another creator who talks about about like a really nonchalant style of captioning with small text on screen, like breaking up the first sentence into 2 words at a time, like white text, probably using a font like Inter with like a little bit of a drop shadow. Here's the full transcript from his video so you can kind of understand what I'm saying. And then I can just paste in the transcript from Minnow, and it's going to read through this to try to get an understanding of the types of captions that I want to make. So this is the video that I want to run this on today. This is going to be like an Instagram reel or something. And it's basically me just talking about Claude design and kind of this new ultimate Claude design setup guide that I created for people and some of the key things that you should give it if you want to get high quality design files. But I have a couple of takes, a couple of mess ups, definitely some gaps in my speech and things like that. And so I want to put this to the test to basically see if the system works. So all I need to do is I'm just going to drag this from my downloads folder. And if I come back into terminal here, can we just run the full pipeline with the video that I just dropped into the raw folder? There really is no right or wrong way to build a system like this. Some people like to build and test in smaller stages, which maybe makes sense. I kind of like to try to get a full end-to-end picture completed before I go back and refine. So basically we have all of the things we need. We have transcription with Whisper, we have editing with FFmpeg, and we have all of the captioning and text overlays done. So now I just want to see if the system works, and then we can go back and refine from there. So I guess while this is happening, one other thing I want to go through, you can see all this red, and these are errors. And basically what happens is Claude's going to go through the pipeline. It's going to identify where there are any issues. Like in this case down here, it created a text hook that says everyone's output looks the same, but this little apostrophe was messing up the system. And so Claude basically understands this and it knows how to fix it. If you're not a developer, you're not technical, you don't know how to code, like something as simple as that apostrophe may trip you up for hours. The main point that I want to make about this is that I think people are overwhelmed or have a hard time learning Claude Code because they don't want to take the time to read. And I know that sounds crazy. And it's like when I say read, I'm not going through and literally reading like this word for word, right? I'm kind of just reading like the responses from Claude just to understand like how the system thinks and where it's looking for errors and what's working and what's not working, so that the next time I go to create a project, I have an understanding of how to better prompt it or how to work with Claude or be a good partner. Because next time we may encounter something similar and it may take Claude a little while, but if I'm able to say, hey, like look out for this before you start building, then I can actually cut out a lot of development time and a lot of troubleshooting because I've already experienced something before. And so I highly recommend, if you're trying to learn Claude Code, that of course, like all of this code looks totally overwhelming and you don't need to know how to code, but definitely make sure you are reading the responses from Claude so you can understand how it thinks. So this says this is done. The full pipeline ran clean. It transcribed all these words. It made cuts for 4 different repetitions. It created this hook overlay, retranscribed on the edit for accurate caption timing. It burned in the captions. Then it created an output file with the same name as the raw file. And basically the only thing I would change here, just for me, because I'm weird like this, I would just say like for all of our output files, we should just create like a better, more relevant name for the video. Just going to say that because I want that. But if we come in here, we now have a new output video all ready to go. So let's go ahead and watch it and see how it does. Most people just open Claude Design but never set it up properly. That's why everyone's output looks the same. Here are 4 things you can upload to make your outputs not look like AI slop. Plus, of course, if you don't feel like you have any of this. The most impactful thing you can upload is screenshots of a finished landing page, your website, a polished deck, something you feel really, really good about. Okay, great. So this is a pretty good start. There's definitely some issues here in general. Like our captions aren't perfect. Like I don't necessarily like love the look of this, but in essence, like we have the bones here and the structure right. A couple of things that I've noticed, that the text overlay hook in the beginning gets cut and cropped, and I'm not sure why. We should just have plain white text on a solid black background, no opacity on the background or anything like that. I also noticed the captions are jumping around a lot. They're kind of like moving from their vertical position, and I'm not sure why. I also want Claude to feel free to like make any spelling or grammatical corrections. Like we know we say Claude Code, but the caption reads C-L-A-W, not C-L-A-U-D-E. So just go ahead and like feel free to make any edits to the captions based off of what you know. The captions are also a little bit small, and I want to make sure that we center align them and also have like line breaks every 4 to 5 words. And so maybe we can actually extend that to maybe like 20 words or 15 to 20 words, for the second half of the video. Also, our video looks heavily compressed, and I want to make sure that we maintain the quality. Okay, so this just finished. Let's check out what we got. Most people just open Claude Design but never set it up properly. That's why everyone's output looks the same. Here are 4 things you can upload in order of impact to make your outputs not look like AI slop like everyone else. So this is looking really good. I'm generally really happy with this. If you're having any issues, just like have a back and forth with Claude about what's working, what's not working, and it should go ahead and fix everything for you. The last thing that we have to do is basically just set this up to run on a schedule so that basically every single morning, the system will check for any new raw videos. It'll go through this entire process. It'll edit everything for you and just save it all in the outputs folder ready for you to publish. If you wanted to take this one step further, you could use a third-party service like Blotato to automatically publish your content on every single social media platform for you, like instantly. So what we will do is we will just open the Claude desktop app. This should be familiar with you if you've been using chat or if you've been using Cowork. You can also use Claude Code straight from the desktop. What's really cool about this is you can really easily schedule something called routines, which are really just tasks that you set to run on any type of schedule. The trade-off here with using routines is they run locally on your computer, which means that your computer actually needs to be on and like not asleep for the routine to actually run. So I'm going to come in here into a new session, and all you have to do is come down here and open up the folder that you want to work in. So if we just go to the desktop, I can go to the Claude Code video editor folder, and now we are inside of this. And Claude Code is smart, so I don't have to actually manually build the routine myself. I can just tell Claude Code what I want it to do. Inside the folder is a system for editing videos. What I want to do is set up a routine to run every single morning at 9 a.m. It's going to check the raw folder for any new videos that have been uploaded there. It's then going to run the entire process, ideally in parallel, for every single one of the raw videos to edit the files according to the scripts available in the folder. Once it's done, it'll save the final output into the outputs folder, and then it should move the raw video file into a new folder called processed. Down here, you can see I have this set to plan mode again, just so we can make sure that this is planning out everything correctly before it builds the routine for us. So I'm going to click enter, send this off, and Claude's going to start thinking about how to build the routine. So this is great. One thing I love about Claude Code is it just flags things for you. So this says for parallel processing, basically the idea that all of the raw videos are going to process at the same time. This is CPU heavy, meaning it's going to use all of your computer's resources, so it may slow down your computer. So this is okay if we want to like run this overnight and we just want to run everything at once, or we can do this sequentially, which means it's just going to process one video at a time. So it kind of depends on how you want to do it. I really think if you're planning on being at your computer while this is running, probably doing this sequentially makes sense. If you're doing it like kind of when you're away from your desk, really either of these are fine and probably doesn't really matter, because either parallel is going to slow down your system, or sequentially, which will take longer, but you're not going to be there. So it's really your choice. For now, I'm just going to go ahead and select parallel because it said it's recommended. So you can see in this right panel over here, it's just proposing a plan for us. So up here is basically just telling me that it understands the system. This is the full implementation plan. The biggest difference here is that it's just going to create this batch structure to run everything in parallel. And those really seem to be like the most important things to know. So I'm just going to go ahead and say accept and allow edits to let Claude Code do its thing. Okay, great. So this finished. If we come over into the routines tab over here, you can see we now have this video editor daily that's going to run every single day. Just going to run the video editing batch processor for the project in the local folder. And if it succeeds, it's going to report how many videos were processed and where the outputs were saved. And if it fails, it's also going to tell me about that too. I'm going to package this entire video editing system into a skill for you. I'm going to leave it inside the community at the link in the description, along with the exact system that I use to grow over 150,000 followers and close multi-billion-dollar clients from organic traffic alone. I'll see you over there.